Hello, Judy. Is there something wrong?
No.
Now, come on. You've been telling me all about it.
I know. Mama told me. And I'm scared.
Oh, Judy. There's nothing to worry about. I told you that, and you believe me, don't you? Come on, let's examine you. Judy, you wouldn't want to have retarded children, would you? Would you?
There's other ways of not having babies.
Oh, no, dear. There's no device or method that is absolutely foolproof. Believe me, Judy, there's a lot more to life than having babies. How old are you?
Right? That's right.
Judy? I want to ask you a very important question. If I'm going to help you, I need to know the answer. Do you want to be sterilized? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Now I'm going to get into this. And I promise you that no one will do anything to you unless it's absolutely necessary. Is that a deal?
That's a deal.
You have yourself a lawyer.
Thank you.
Come on, I'll take you home.
But it's on the other side of the mountain.
That's where we gotta go, the other side of the mountain.
The clinic provides a lot of good service to those who need it.
How long has it been operating?
Well, 4 years at least. How long have you been a lawyer in these parts?
Not long. Does the county get a copy of everything medical that goes on over there?
Supposed to.
And what about sterilizations? Where would I find that?
Under S.
Oh, yeah. Her name is Dr. Lucille Barris, and she's performed a dozen of these sterilizations over there in the past year and a half.
Well, we can't prevent people from getting sterilized, huh?
But what if they don't want to, Mr. Marshall?
Oh, that's different. But it says that everybody on that list was voluntary.
Not a girl by the name of Judy Simpson. Now, this Dr. Barris is performing a tubal ligation next week. I have a Xerox here somewhere. Certificate of authorization.
What's the reason?
She's retarded, very slightly. Here it is. Her mother signed the authorization.
Is the girl your client?
Since this afternoon. I could use your help, Owen.
Well, Ted, sterilization of mental defectives isn't against the law in all cases.
I know that. The mother signed the consent. That's the woman's legal right. But the girl doesn't want the operation. Now, what about the legal rights of the minor?
Why don't we drive over and talk to her mother?
Somebody give me your best shot. That's it.
Mrs. Simpson, I'm Owen Marshall. I'm a lawyer. This is my associate, Ted Warwick.
How do you do?
What's wrong?
We'd like to talk about your daughter. She came to see Mr. Warwick.
Please, come in.
Thank you.
Please, won't you sit down? Judy's over to her friend Lynn's house. Can I get you something? A cup of coffee?
No, thank you.
I don't understand. What would my daughter, please, want with lawyers?
Well, Judy's concerned or confused about her surgery. Dr. Barris?
Dr. Lucille?
Yes.
She's a fine woman and a fine doctor. Takes care of my whole family and never asked for a penny. Did Judy say she didn't want the operation?
Yes. That's why we're here.
She didn't even tell me.
Well, this is a very upsetting time for her, Mrs. Simpson.
Poor baby. She's such a good girl. Last thing I'd want to see her is upset. But Dr. Lucille's a wonderful woman and a fine doctor. And she said that Judy should have this operation, and I'd go along with her. As I was saying, she's seeing a boy, and lovemaking is bound to come into it sooner or later. It worries me to the edge sometimes. Oh, I'll do that. You go sit down now. You're tired and upset. Thank you. You and I have been around a long time, Esther. It's a tough life, with more sadness than anyone ought to know. It is sometimes. The struggle never ends, just to hold things together. But there's one thing I've learned. Unless you face your fears, you lose the struggle. You mean if she has a child? She'd probably have retarded children. And more suffering than either one of us ever had. Can you imagine her coping with that? How do I tell her? What do I do? You help her avoid the suffering. The operation, Esther, is as simple as removing tonsils. A few weeks later, I signed the papers giving Dr. Lucille permission.
It would make things easier, Mrs. Simpson, if you'd withdraw that permission while we make a proper investigation on behalf of your daughter.
There's no need for an investigation. Judy's upset now, and that's understandable. But not too far in the future, she'll appreciate what Dr. Lucille and I have done for her. I'm convinced of that, and there's no changing my mind.
But, Mrs. Simpson...
My husband's been gone many years now. He had brain damage, too. It was transmitted to my Judy. You have it, Mr. Ramirez, and you'll see forever.
You tell me when, Dr. Lucille.
Dr. Barris.
Dr. Barris? This is Frida Krause. I'm Owen Marshall's secretary.
Owen Marshall?
Yes, he's an attorney, and he's representing Judy Simpson, and he wanted to know if he could make an appointment with you at your convenience.
Oh, I see. Well, I'm too busy to talk to lawyers right now. I'm very sorry.
Did you talk to Dr. Barris?
You can call it that. I asked her very correctly for an appointment, and she made it quite clear that she didn't have the time of day for lawyers.
Did you mention Judy?
I mentioned Judy Simpson. That's when she hung up on me.
Oh, great. That means she'll go ahead with surgery before we have a chance to know all the facts.
Well, don't the mentally handicapped have just as much right to legal counsel as anybody else?
They certainly do. Ted, would you dig up everything you can on Dr. Barris?
All right.
And Frida, find out who's the presiding judge over there and arrange a meeting. Tell his office it's urgent. I want to talk to him about procedure.
Lynn,
I'm here.
here's an apple pie Mom baked for you and your dad, and there's enough here for Larry, too. Hey, is something wrong? What you sitting here like this for? Don't you want some light?
Doesn't make any difference.
Hey.
Nothing makes any difference.
Something wrong. Is it Larry? Why don't you talk about it, Lynn? It might help, and I can understand, really.
He asked me to marry him last night.
Hey, and now what you wanted?
He got the job, and he wants to get married in the spring and start raising a family. And, I tell him I can't have babies, he'll call it off.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, he will. I know it.
Lynn, tell me something. Why'd you have the operation?
Dr. Lucille told me there were enough children in the world. And the least the younger generation could do was to stop having babies. She talked. And you know how she talks, real educated. And it seemed to make sense at the time. Like I was doing something good and important. And then she reminded me how I didn't have the strongest heart in the world and facing childbirth and all. God, I know it was stupid. Oh, Judy, I wish I hadn't done it. Oh, God, why did I do it? Oh, it'll be all right.
Based upon Dr. Barris's examinations and medical declaration that your client is a mental defective, and with the patient's parental consent, this certificate of authorization seems in order. It's signed by her mother.
And not by the girl.
She's a minor, Mr. Marshall. And she is a mental defective, isn't she?
Well, she is retarded, Judge Porter. To what extent, we don't know yet. And she will be 18 in less than 4 months.
Still a minor in my book. And I repeat, gentlemen, she is retarded.
Well, we'd like a doctor of our choice to examine the girl, Judge Porter.
Look, Mr. Marshall, I know Lucille Barris personally, and I'll buy you both a steak dinner if you can show me anyone as totally dedicated or uncompromisingly professional as she is.
Well, our concern is the girl, Judy Simpson. And I hope you agree that sterilization is a very serious measure, a crucial one.
Tell me, what do you know about Dr. Barris?
That she has a good private practice, lives rather modestly, never married.
Oh, she's married. If I may be clever about it, she's married to her work and her principles. She spends every ounce of extra energy she has working at this private clinic she's affiliated with, which provides free treatment for the poor.
Well, we want a temporary restraining order and a further hearing for the sake of our client and her future.
Under the law, you're entitled to petition. But you say you've never talked to Dr. Barris.
We've tried.
I'll arrange it. I want you to meet her before you petition for any hearing. I believe she may just change your mind.
I'll get right to the point, shall I? I don't know your motives, but whatever they are, it doesn't change my opinion that you're intruding into the operation of this clinic.
Well, Doctor, I'll be as blunt with you. You plan to sterilize a young girl without her consent.
Her consent, Mr. Marshall, is an illusion. Judy Simpson isn't capable of giving her consent.
Being retarded doesn't reduce a person to the status of a vegetable, Doctor.
I wonder if you fully realize the nature of Judy's disorder, Mr. Warwick. Do you think she can bear children when, as a retardate, she has enough of a struggle just taking care of herself? Don't you understand that at any moment she can completely lose touch with reality, with normalcy? I've spent most of my life working with the underprivileged and the incapacitated. I know their hardships. I know how extremely difficult life can be for them. Believe me, I know what I'm doing. So please don't interfere. You'll only bring more suffering than there already is.
There's such a thing as freedom, Doctor. And it's involved here, too.
I don't mean to be rude. You're a professional, and so am I. But spare me the abstractions about freedom. This is the other side of the mountain, Mr. Marshall, where poverty is a day-to-day reality, and where life sometimes limps along and has to be shaped to the practical. There are depths to the despair here that are far beyond your Santa Barbara mentality. And there are facts concerning the Simpson girl that you aren't even aware of. Dr. Barris, I'll be right there. If you'll excuse me, I'm really very busy.
I don't believe this woman.
I'm afraid I do. She's not outside the law, but she's playing God with the lives of vulnerable people.
Then she has to be stopped.
Yes, she has to be.
What do you think she meant when she said there were certain things about Judy that we didn't know?
Well, whatever it was, it'll make the doctor's side of it stronger. You can bet on that.
Yeah.
Frida, would you call Judge Porter's office? I'd like to have another talk with him.
I'm so sorry, child, but I only did what I know is best for you.
It's all right, Mama.
It's not all right, Judy. Not when my own little girl got to go call on a lawyer. But I talked to you about it, and I thought you understood.
I did, Mama, but it's just that sometimes I...
Oh, no. Now, take your time. Take your time.
Sometimes, Mama, I feel so good. All the slowness goes away. I feel so clear. And I feel just like everybody else. Did you know that about me, Mama?
Yes, I did, baby. Oh, Judy. Judy, I know it's hard for you. It was hard for your father, too. But, honey, you were in trouble before and we stopped it, remember?
I know, but I want to make the decision.
Well, it seems to me you've made it.
I have.
Do you know what Dr. Lucille just told me a little while ago? She said if there's a court hearing, and I guess there's going to be one, that you're going to have to sue her for all of this and sue me. Bring both of us into the courtroom when there's so much work for both of us to do. Is that what you want?
I just don't want the operation, Mama.
All right, we'll talk again about it later. Now, there's things to do. Always things to do.
Mama, can Lynn come to dinner tonight?
Of course she can come.
Would you please send an ambulance to 5256 Carson Street, please? Her name is Lynn Anderson, and she took some pills. Please hurry. Please, please, please. Oh,
We'll be giving you some tests soon, Judy.
But you did that last month.
Yes, I did. But we're going to have to do it again.
Why?
You've been through some unusual stress in the last few hours, and you weren't able to deal with it.
But I telephoned the operator, and Mr. Marshall and Mr. Warwick said it was the right thing to do.
Yes, you did that. But was it enough, Judy? Suppose you were a mother with your own baby in pain and needing your own personal attention quickly. How could you ever be sure you were able to handle that responsibility? Suppose in some family crisis you suddenly got all confused and frantic. What would happen? It could be a tragedy, just as it could have been a tragedy for Lynn if she'd needed more than a phone call when you walked in that door. I'm sorry to have to talk to you this way, Judy, but there are some things you've got to be made aware of for your own good. You know, sometime it's possible, only possible, mind you, that you might be mature enough to handle children. And then if you're married, you and your husband could adopt one or two.
But I might want one of my own.
That's just the point, Judy. You can't have your own.
Mr. Marshall and Mr. Warwick didn't say that.
They're lawyers, Judy, not doctors.
But they were trying to help me.
Well, maybe I should talk to them again. Try to explain things. Would you like that? I've come bearing a peace flag, if that's possible, Mr. Marshall.
Of course it is, Doctor. Please sit down.
Thank you. I want to apologize for my harsh words yesterday.
There's no need. Being professional, we both know that what's done is done. Besides, nothing can change the fact that we're on opposite sides of the fence. Would you care for a cup of coffee?
No, thank you. Mr. Marshall, I really want to discuss this situation rationally. Oh, I know you think I'm overly protective of the underprivileged and Judy, but someone has to articulate their reality and not the one we want for them. They have simple fears, simple desires, a job, a roof over their heads, and as little trouble as possible in a world where to survive is to travel light.
What about love and children, Doctor? Where do they fit into your scheme of things?
When you're struggling for your existence, children can be a burden. And love is something you occasionally have enough energy left over to dream about.
Is it so difficult that we, the professionals, should snip away at those dreams?
Certainly you're not in disagreement with the law when it states that sterilization is indicated for the mental defective.
Well, the law provides for it only in special cases. Doctor, you've never been married or had children.
That's an irrelevant remark.
I don't think so. And in all honesty, Doctor, sterilization, for me, is too final an act. Too inhuman for the kind of world that I want to live in. And especially in an age where there are alternatives that are not irreversible.
Well, in that case, I presume that anything further we have to say to each other, we'll say at the hearing.
It appears to be that way, doesn't it? And it's been set for Thursday.
I know. I'll see my way out and see you then.
Hi, pretty girl. Mind a visitor?
Hi, Alfred.
How are you?
Okay. They gave me a sleeping pill. Doesn't seem to help much.
Well, you know, I had the hardest time trying to get in here to see you, but Mr. Warwick fixed it for me. He told me what's been going on. I just wish you would have told me. Anyway,
I think you did the right thing by going to a lawyer.
I just don't know anymore. All that trouble. And for what? I'll never be able to have any babies. They'd be just like me. Slow.
Slow. Baby. You're just a little bit slow. That much. Even less. Besides, you want to know something? The whole world goes so fast sometimes. Then I'm with you. It's calm, simple, and nice. Very nice. And Judy, you are the girl I want to marry. And if we have children, and if they turn out just like you, I'll be the luckiest guy in the world.
Yes, Mrs. Armour. Well, neither of them are here right now. Yes, I'll have one of them call you just as soon as they get in. You're very welcome. Oh, hi.
Hello, Frida.
Rita?
How did the hearing go?
Well, we got the temporary restraining order, but we got problems.
Why?
Well, the judge stopped the operation pending another hearing next week
On
whether the operation should be permanently forbidden or allowed to be carried out.
Well, how did Dr. Barris take all this?
She still looks confident. Now, her lawyer hinted at something that can be very damaging to Judy.
Yeah, he casually mentioned in the hallway after the hearing that we should get Judy to tell us about her abortion.
Abortion?
It seems she conceived a couple of years ago and underwent one.
Why didn't she tell us?
Well, I can only guess that it was something that she found too embarrassing to tell us.
Oh, that poor kid. Well, what next?
Get ready for a tough fight next week. And hope.
Dr. Howard, do you specialize in cases regarding so-called retardation?
I do.
And is it your professional opinion that every retarded person requires sterilization?
No, not everyone. By no means.
Have you had the opportunity to examine the petitioner, Judy Simpson?
Yes, I have.
And would you tell us, please, what those tests indicated?
Judy Simpson suffers from minimal brain dysfunction.
Would you put that in the severe category or anywhere near it?
No, I would not.
Thank you, Doctor.
Doctor, isn't it true that the older a retarded person gets, the more stress there is on the personality?
Yes, that's usually the case.
And if the retardee becomes a mother, and I'm sure you'll agree that's a stressful situation at times, isn't it possible that she panic and be unable to cope?
It's possible.
Then would you tell us, Doctor, though you aren't in favor of sterilizing all retarded persons, do you think it wise for them to have children?
Probably not. But it depends on the degree that the individual is retarded, and therefore...
Thank you, Doctor. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Dr. Barris, you heard Dr. Howard state his views concerning the retarded. Do you agree with him?
No, sir, I don't. I believe that the mentally defective should be sterilized, especially if the defect is genetic.
Would you explain why, Doctor?
Society must face up to certain realities. I believe it's criminal to bring retarded children into the world. I've assisted at quite a few of these births, and it's not a pleasant experience. For me, the humane act is to prevent the birth of the genetically deformed.
And you have no doubts that Judy Simpson is genetically deformed?
None whatsoever. The tests will prove that her comprehension is clearly substandard.
Are there any other facts that support your opinion, Doctor?
Yes, her father was also retarded. And the girl has already been pregnant once.
And when was that, Doctor?
2 years ago.
And what was the result of that pregnancy?
The fetus was aborted at 2 months.
Well, thank you, Doctor. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Dr. Barris. Do you know the circumstances surrounding Judy's pregnancy?
Not specifically, no.
She was not quite 16 at the time, is that correct?
Yes, but with the comprehension of someone much younger.
Did you know that her seducer took advantage of her fear?
What I know, Mr. Marshall, is that she is retarded and therefore unable to cope with that situation.
But couldn't the same unfortunate experience happen to any young and vulnerable girl?
With the number of illegitimate births in this country, I think the answer to your question is self-evident.
Well, would you sterilize them too, the girls who are not retarded?
Certainly not. I think I've made my medical opinion sufficiently clear.
Doctor, the county medical records show that you sterilized 12 people in the past year and a half. Is that correct?
Objection. Irrelevant, Your Honor. Those are voluntary sterilizations, and the counselor knows it.
Your Honor, any doctor, and especially a doctor dispensing free medical aid, has considerable influence with their patients. It is my contention that Dr. Barris took undue advantage of her position.
If she did or she didn't, I don't see the relevancy to this case, Mr. Marshall.
If Your Honor will allow this line of questioning, I will establish that all these sterilizations had one thing in common.
Very well. Objection overruled. You'll please answer the question, Dr. Barris.
Yes, the record is correct. There were 12 sterilizations.
Were any of those who were sterilized mentally incompetent?
Not clinically, no.
Were they fathers or mothers who, having raised a family, decided they wanted no more children?
No.
But isn't it true that they were all sterilized as a result of your persuasions, just as you persuaded Judy Simpson and her mother?
Mr. Marshall, if what you think these patients had in common is the color of their skin, then may I tell you that that has never entered into my considerations, nor is it true. And I resent your insinuation of that. They were not all minorities.
I did not make that insinuation, Doctor. But there's another prejudice involved here, an even deeper one. Tell us, Doctor, did you grow up in a poverty situation of any sort?
Yes. My family was poor.
Very poor, would you say?
Yes, we were very poor.
And how did you feel about this?
I think that's a ridiculous question.
Well, it's my question to you, and I'd like you to answer it.
Well, like anyone else in day-to-day contact with poverty, I hated it. Is there anything startling about that?
Not at all. Yet all of the patients that you sterilized and Judy Simpson, were they not underprivileged, very poor?
Yes, they were.
And is it not true that your own admitted hatred of poverty, somewhere along the line, transformed itself into a hatred of the poor? That's a juicy, primitive hate of all. And as a result, unwittingly perhaps, you used your honored profession to sterilize at least some of the underprivileged and poor out of existence.
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative and compound. The counsel for the petitioner is harassing the witness.
Objection sustained. You will please get to the point of this hearing, Mr. Marshall.
Dr. Barris, did you inform Judy Simpson and her mother, Mrs. Esther Simpson, that any children the child might one day have would be born retarded?
Her father was retarded. That's a matter of record.
And her brothers, Tommy and Toby Simpson, are they retarded?
Not to my knowledge.
Then the hereditary aspects of the retarded are not absolute, are they?
But that doesn't change the Simpson girl's incapacity to be a mother. Besides, science deals in probabilities, not absolutes.
Oh, one more question, Doctor. When did you last recommend sterilization to a wealthy person?
Objection, irrelevant.
I'm going to have to sustain that, Mr. Marshall.
Then I have no further questions.
Mr. Dean, do you have any further witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Your Honor, we have one rebuttal witness we'd like to call at this time. We call Judy Simpson.
Very well.
17.
And your brothers, how old are they?
Tommy's 12 and Toby's 9.
Do you take care of them?
Oh, sure, lots of times. Whenever Mama finds work.
And do you cook for them?
But they like Mama's cooking better. So do I.
Do you ever have any trouble with your brothers, Judy?
Once in a while. But they're my brothers. And I love them. And they know that. And well, when someone knows that they're loved, they're really not that much trouble.
Judy, do you want to have children someday?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure, but I know I'm slow. But life wouldn't be what it should be without a family. And what I feel for Mama and my brothers, those are the best feelings in the whole world. And I'm feeling more confident every day. And yes, Mr. Warwick, I do want to have children because I'd be a good mother. There's worse things than being slow. I know how to be loving. And that counts for something, doesn't it?
I don't think there's anything that counts for as much.
You know something? I understood everything that was said here today. I even understood some things that weren't said. And it made me feel different, older, grown up. And I never felt like that before.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Your Honor, there is no denying that Judy Simpson is still technically a minor, and that according to some medical evidence, she is retarded. But does it follow that society has the right to take away her motherhood? Each instance of retardation must ultimately be examined individually. And in the case of Judy Simpson, what do we find? To her brothers, she is the kindest of sisters. To her mother, she is both love and responsibility. To a young man who wants to marry her slowness is not at all important, because he sees in her other virtues which far outweigh that slowness. Now, what is Judy Simpson to yet another person? To Dr. Lucille Barris. I think that we have proven here that to Dr. Barris, Judy is a statistical nightmare which must be erased like numbers from a piece of paper. But more important, most important, to herself, Judy Simpson is a young woman in the process of overcoming her handicap, a person growing into her maturity, a little slower than the rest of us, perhaps, but growing just the same, with the deep-rooted determination to live like the rest of us, a full life. Your Honor, I ask that the sterilization order be rescinded by this court.
I have weighed all of the evidence ably presented by both sides. But I find myself most affected by the testimony of the young lady who is the subject of this hearing. In view of that, I agree with you, Mr. Marshall. The sterilization order shall be rescinded. And good luck, young lady. This hearing is dismissed.
All rise.
Oh, Mama. Oh, Mama.
Well, this Pearson memo looks fine, Ted.
Well, I hate to lose clients, but I hope they don't get divorced. I mean, he's 77 and she's what?
Well, nobody's supposed to know, but she's 78. Oh, they'll reconcile, all right. By next Sunday. They always change their minds on Sunday just before dinner.
Miss Marshall, Ted, there's a very attractive young couple out here that would like to see you.
Hi, mind if we come in?
Please do.
Judy wants to tell you something.
Mr. Marshall and Mr. Warwick, I just want to say again, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Judy.
Well, you're not welcome unless you call me Ted.
Ted, and I told Alfred that I hope that I can live up to all those nice things you said about me in that court.
Oh, I didn't invent that. You already have.
I have something for you. I did them while we were in the court, and I hope that you like them.
Oh, that's lovely, Judy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.